Are you sitting in traffic a lot? Are you always in your car? Is that the reason that you can't lose weight? My name is Ryan. This is High Carb Regenerator. Welcome to my channel. I wanted to talk about that today. I was talking to somebody the other day about commuting, and I sent her kind of like a backlog of my commutes over the years, and I realized something. As I was sitting down and like listing this or typing this stuff off, my weight fluctuations have all been around long commutes. So anyway, as in the background you're seeing, I went for a bike ride today. I'm just going to put that in the background, but I wanted to talk about this because it's really like now I'm analyzing why this is happening, because I don't think it's actually sitting in traffic. I think it's the mental mentality behind it and the cortisol raise. So I've never really had a long commute until I did insurance work, and I was actually at pretty good weight until I did insurance work. I did do a lot of sitting, but I also was lifting really heavy at that time and did do a lot of cardio, on the stepper. I put the first year I was at New York Life, I put 60,000 miles in my car in 1 year. In one year, 60,000 miles. So I did a lot of driving. I still don't even know how I did it, but I know I did it because the car started at 14,000 at the beginning of that year, and it ended at 75,000 at the end of the year. So I know it's legit. It happened. I was just like, damn. But I was much heavier at the end of that year than I was going into it. And then I got that weight off, and I moved to Pennsylvania, and I got a bank job because I didn't want to do insurance out on the East Coast because I didn't know like customs and the people and everything like that. And when I started at New York Life, I was 235 pounds, 235, maybe a little less, maybe 225 to 235, right? When I started at the bank job. I don't know if I said that right. When I started at the bank job, I was about 225, 235, somewhere in there when I moved to Pennsylvania. By the time I was done with the bank job, I was 405 pounds. 405. That's a 170-pound gain. I got rid of that. Oh, that bank job, they were closing that branch down. They wanted to move me to another branch. Long story. So anyway, I didn't have that job anymore. I went for a little while. I didn't have a job, and I started exercising again. Didn't have to do a lot of driving and all that kind of stuff, and the weight started coming off again. I got another bank job when I was still pretty heavy. I know the weight was coming off. I was still pretty heavy, and that actually is the bank job that when I started that, I went full raw because I could afford it. The bank job paid pretty well. But I really didn't lose a whole lot of weight, even though that job was only 1.5 miles from my house. But I did start losing weight. But when I quit that job and didn't have the stress of the job, or actually I got fired. When I got fired from that job and didn't have the stress of the job anymore, is when the weight started just falling off. Like, that was the job when I had that job, that was when I stopped doing dairy. And that was the time that I lost 50 pounds in 1 month. So I did have that. But once that job was done, I lost like 75 pounds at least. And I was just doing couch to 5K. I was looking for another job. I was just job searching. And I was driving to interviews and stuff like that. But it was extremely hard to get a job at that time. And they didn't like the fact that I wasn't native from PA and blah, blah, blah. So fast forward some years. I had finally gotten my weight down to about 225 or 235 again. And I started a job at the post office, and it stayed there. And then I wanted to upgrade my job. This is just all about my story. Maybe you can relate. Hopefully this actually can help somebody. Maybe like analyze what I'm talking about, and maybe analyze your life, and maybe it'll bring something up. I don't know. But I wanted to kind of, there was a one level that I was at, and I wanted to get to the upper level. But within that level, you actually had an interview for the job, which you don't once you're a regular. You can just bid on jobs. But at that time, I wasn't a regular. And I had to apply and interview for the job, but I got it just because he liked how much I would work, right? I was working a lot at the other post office. I was rotating post office. They weren't very far from my house. My weight was extremely good at that time. And I started at this other job, but it was like, because of how PA is set up, East Pennsylvania is set up, you can basically see where you want to go, but it's going to take you an hour to get there, right? So I was in traffic again a lot. And by the time that job was done, and I was only there 10 months, I had gotten myself almost up to 300 pounds again. It's nuts. And then I bid to a job that was a little bit closer, and we were coming into 2016, and I started riding my bike. I started doing a lot of bike riding, and from February of 2016 to December of 2016, I had gotten myself from that 300 pounds down to about 220 pounds, right? Then I came back to Cleveland, and I started another bid for a post office that was 90 miles round trip. Now, my actual bid was a lot closer, and that's why we moved to this side of town. But during that time, I gained a lot of weight. I went from the 220 that I was at to almost 300 pounds again because of that commute. It was stressing the hell out of me. I really wasn't able to exercise. I really couldn't get to the gym all that much because the amount of time that I was driving back and forth was just taking up my entire day. They were doing forced overtime. It was just hell on earth, basically. And then here we are to this day. And when I started the video, I had been out of the post office. Well, technically, I still have the job, but I'm not going to talk about that right now. Technically, I still had the job, but so I've gotten the weight kind of down to 260, but it's baffling to me. Like, what is causing this now? Because a lot of people are going to say, well, you don't have a lot of exercise. And that was true actually at the bank, but it wasn't actually true at all at the post offices. I was always on my feet, never sat hardly ever. If I left my phone on me, it would track my steps. And on average, I would walk between 7 and 15 miles a day in-house. Because most of the people that are coming to the post office are getting mail. You got to go find mail. You got to go find this. You got to go find that. You got to take mail around. So you're walking a lot, even if you're in the building. So there was a lot of walking going on. And like I said, I never sat down because there was just no point. You're constantly getting out of the wherever you would sit anyway. So there was absolutely no point in doing it. No point. So what is causing this? And I started thinking about this. And if you have a situation like this, like really analyze what is it that's causing the weight gain, because I don't actually think it's the car itself, but it could be. But I started thinking about how much I actually stress out when I'm driving, and I think that's what's raising my cortisol, and it stays high, and then I'm stressed out the rest of the day. So I think about like when I'm out driving, I might not say this stuff out loud, sometimes I do, but it's like you're in traffic and you're behind, other cars, and it's green lights. Like, can you not see the green light? Like, do you not know what green is? Like, go, or if it's a turn signal or a turn, you get a green arrow and they just sit there and look at it, or somebody's on their phone and they, you miss the entire thing. You're screaming at them. You got people cutting you off. You got, I don't know. You got it's crazy. You got these people who are riding your ass, right? And then all of a sudden they'll get in front of you, and it's just, you're always constantly thinking like, why is this so annoying? Like, why, why can you not see the color green? Or like, can you not figure out what, like, you got people flying past you just to go to the next red light, and then they're mad at you because it's a red light, or whatever. Like, driving is actually stressful. And when I said something about utilitarian riding the other day, it dawned on me that no matter how much traffic I was riding in, I've actually ridden in really heavy traffic, rush hour traffic downtown and stuff like that. No stress at all. I didn't really care. And then I started thinking, is it because I feel trapped in this car? Like, you can't get out. Like, within a bike, you got the whole world around you. and everything like that. So you don't really feel trapped, but I feel trapped in the car. So is that stressing me out? Something is raising my cortisol with being in the car. Now, I don't know if everybody goes through this. Maybe they don't. It just depends. I don't know if everybody goes through it or not, but I do. Like, I get a lot of cortisol around being in a car. And the only other thing that I can think is, I liked being in a car when I was a kid, but when I was in a car from like mid-teens through the rest of my life here, being in a car actually reminds me of going to work, and I've never really liked doing that. Like, I like doing like this is beautiful. Doing the lives is beautiful. One of these days, I'm going to get one of these channels to a point where this is all I do, because I don't like being in the damn car. But what part of this is, or is it a combination of everything? And maybe people who are struggling to get weight off actually have this going on, and maybe not driving, maybe it's some other area of your life, but you have this going on to some capacity, and it makes your cortisol raise really high. And another thing that's kind of irritating the hell out of me right now, this is a rant video. Hopefully you made it this far, but right now, I'm having actually a hard time riding bike because my foot's been giving me a lot of trouble. So my actual release, riding a bike, is actually something that I can't really do full time anymore. Like, I always wanted to get to a point where I lived somewhere where I just needed a bike where you could walk somewhere. But it's kind of dawning on me that this might not even be a possibility either, because my foot is just not stable enough, or it's stable, but it's giving me a lot of trouble. But anyway, this is a rant. I know this is a rant, but really think about this. Like, if you're watching this video, you made it this far, maybe you actually have something like this going on in your life. And I know this is, everybody's going to be like, this is just an excuse. You're obese. Just live with it. Just, starve yourself, do more exercise or whatever. But it's not. It's not. And so anyway, I wanted to make a video about that. Hopefully you'll like it. If you've got a situation like that, in your life, maybe analyze it, figure out what's actually causing some of it. And that's it. Anyway, comments, questions down below. Like, subscribe, and I'll talk to you in the next video.